Welcome to this episode of Mainline Connect. My name is Jennifer Lynn Robinson, and my guest today is John Florio, CEO of Nine Dots. Welcome, John. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
So we like to start off the show talking about a networking topic, and your business seems very kind of industry specific. So I was curious, what kind of networking has worked for you? Like for example, I think I'd given you the example of something like a standard business card exchange. Where you're going in a room and maybe there's 50 to 100 people that are just general small business owners. To me, as an outsider looking at your business, it seems like maybe that's something that wouldn't work so well for you. People would have to be better versed in what you do in your industry. But I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. What has worked for you?
I mean, you're right on. It's a great question. But honestly, what's worked so well for us at this point is LinkedIn.
Okay.
Has been fantastic for us from a standpoint of being able to, we can connect in with people that are industry specific. Mm-hmm. And then once we connect in with those people, then through our content and our introductions, then we're able to kind of move forward and hopefully get an appointment or an opportunity to speak with someone. Also, some of the stuff through LinkedIn, but some of the other local Philadelphia stuff that we've been doing is like techmeetups.com.
Okay.
And, working with a couple of different firms. Like we work with the chambers. Mm-hmm. So any of the Chamber of Commerce stuff that we can get into and then have like networking events where we can go are usually great. But to your point, a lot of times we wind up, if we're in some of those networking events, like Network After Work has been not one of our best, just because there's a lot of just marketing people passing out business cards. And when you stand there and you try and talk tech speak with someone like that, they don't get much of an understanding. So it works better when you can deal with content through somebody in one of those types of events that way.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard, when you're kind of casually talking to somebody at a networking event and they're not really getting it. I know that's happened to me, and I teach people about networking, and I know a lot of times what will happen is, and I've seen myself do this as well. When you don't understand what somebody's saying, your inclination isn't necessarily to say, well, I don't know what that is, or I don't understand. Sometimes people just say, oh, that's great, that's what you do, wonderful. And then they just kind of walk away, and they're not getting it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I definitely see where you're coming from. But yeah, tell me more about the LinkedIn. Do you guys, do you use the premium account that you pay for? And has that helped you grow your contacts?
So we have several of our people, myself included, and of course some of our salespeople that are on the premium. And for the people that don't know that, the premium account is so that you can see who's looking at you, and then you have what's called in-mails, so the opportunity to just directly connect with someone. What we've learned, and we'd like to learn more, but what we've learned throughout our process over the past few years is if you just go at them with a salesy approach, especially high-level type people who we're trying to talk to, the decision makers, we typically get shut down. So what's best is we join and find the groups that they belong to, and as we get into those groups and we interact through posting, then they're more likely to connect with us. And then once we connect with them that way, it's easier to say, hey, there might be a synergy between you and me, Jennifer. Why don't we have a conversation about X? And then that typically works and we're able to talk to them.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to go because it's more organic. People are getting to know, what you're about, what you post about, and like you said, they're more likely to connect and want to get to know you.
Absolutely.
So, and I noticed in your profile, you started doing some of the LinkedIn publication posts as well.
Yes.
How's that working out?
It's been, we get a lot of people looking at stuff, and I can't get enough content out there, but I think it works great.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I don't want to just throw junk out there, but as long as we put something in where someone wants to follow me because they're interested in reading what it is that I have to say. A lot of the people from my marketing department are like, don't be so technically specific, be more, talk about what's happening world event wise, and then people get to know me better. And I think I've only put 2, maybe 3 posts out so far, but from 1 to 2 to 3 has been exponential growth in people looking at it. So
absolutely,
I feel like it's working.
Yeah, I think, there's people that based on time or just how they are with their writing, they're able to put more content out there. Some people are able to put it weekly. I don't put it weekly. I'd love to put it more just like you. But I think what you said is really important. It's not just putting something out. Because sometimes you'll see people put posts out there that are very salesy, that are sort of not really substantive content at all.
Right.
And I think that's a mistake. I think, your method is more appropriate. Wait till you have the content and the time to really put something out that's quality. Yeah, and then people want to follow.
I think like to that point, you might lose some of the value of the messaging. Like if you're trying to get, if you just threw a post out every other week, or every week, people would just be like, well, I'm sick of reading that. It's not bringing any value to me. And now it's just like, anything else that you're throwing out there for social media. And we kind of want to make it more valuable than that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's all about adding value and making people want to see what you put out there. So yeah, I found the LinkedIn publication post to be great for me, and I'm sure as you go into it more, you'll find the same thing as well. Yeah, you'll gain a big following through LinkedIn. And I can see where LinkedIn would be very focused for your business that you do. I didn't even think about it until you said it, but that's probably a very good means of gaining business. Yeah. So let's backtrack a little. I know in kind of looking at your information, you were in the corporate world for a long time with Philadelphia insurance companies. Tell me how we got to be where we are now as far as running 9 Dots.
It's a great story, actually. So I worked for, I guess, 22 years in corporate industry, 20 of those with Philly Insurance, and had a wonderful career there. Most of that career made up of using the product that 9 Dots offers.
Okay.
So my tie-in back to 9 Dots was the fact that when I was back in the working corporate world, I was using the tools and services provided by 9 Dots with which to grow our business at Philly Insurance, and we just used it all the time and loved the product. Stayed in touch with the founder.
Right.
And things change in life, and I guess about 5 years ago, had an opportunity where it was finally time to wind things down at Philly Insurance. They had been bought by Tokyo Marine, and there was a lot of change taking place, and I was out looking for, networking,
right,
and looking for what's going to happen next.
What's the next step?
And met with the founder, and then and at that point one of the owners of 9 Dots, and mostly walked in with him, and kind of we got together because we've known each other forever. And the interesting part of the story was he flat out says to me, "I don't think I can help you networking, John. We're practically going out of business." And I said, "You got to be kidding me! With what the stuff that we've been able to do with it, and I know there's so many other clients, using the product at the time." And he said that they were, venture capitalist owned, and they were taking them in a different direction. So we bought out the venture capitalists and took the big risk to the entrepreneurial world.
Big risk.
There's no turning back now. So. Been doing that for about the last 5 years, and it's been just a great turnaround for us.
So at that moment, where you made the decision to do that, I know your wife outside of this interview, and, you have a family. Was that something that was a big decision for you guys as a family to kind of, instead of finding another kind of more comfortable or safe corporate job, come home and say, you know what, this company's failing, and I think I'm going to buy it and see what we can do? I mean, how did that go over?
You're not making that sound real good. No, actually, it was a huge family decision.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time, talking about it, but in our conversation, and we've been getting to know one another, I'm just not the type of person, even throughout my corporate world, I was always kind of pushing the envelope, even at Philly Insurance, and obviously held a lot of leadership positions there. I've always wanted to be that guy who says, listen, if we're successful, it's because of me, and if we fail, it's because of me.
Right.
So it seemed, to me, it was a no-brainer. Trying to explain to Lisa that we weren't going to be receiving many paychecks, right, was a little different sell, but sure. It's turning out. So.
Yeah, it seems like it's working out. Right. So even though it's a big risk, it's a big reward, right. So so you buy the company, and it's been about 5 years. So I guess let's start out first with, why don't you tell us about what the product is? You said you used the product at the insurance company, and you saw the utility and the benefit. Tell us kind of what the products are about.
So I'll keep it as non-technical as I can.
Yeah.
They're business intelligence products, and what they're meant to do is provide insight into information for small to mid-sized businesses. So we look at the $20 million revenue company all the way up to probably $750 million. It's probably our sweet spot. It's a huge sweet spot, but there's a lot of mid-sized companies that are looking for services like that. And our software, what it does is it gives you an opportunity to not have to interact with your IT department, but more so launch the product on your own, and then be able to build and create reporting, slice and dice, and have quick access into information. So we have dashboarding products, we have business intelligence products, which do analytics and data, and probably the biggest part of what we do there is the predictive modeling. So a lot of our sales come from firms that are, if you had the crystal ball today and you could forecast out, hey, we're going to make X amount of dollars, it would really give you comfort at night. And of course, there's no panacea. No one can absolutely do that. But the product does a really great job at complex calculation and getting you into that situation.
And it's interesting as you're talking, because I also come from the insurance industry, I'm thinking about, that's pretty much the model for insurance companies,
That's
which
right.
was your business.
That's exactly right.
I had friends who were actuaries, and, that's what they do. They predict, what's going to happen and hopefully make the company money and figuring that out in advance.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So when you have faster access to knowing that on the insurance side, then you're able to be more adaptable and move and make changes quickly inside it. Like if you use insurance as your example, inside of different lines of business, you can make changes quickly or make adjustments to pricing to get you where you need to be.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So tell me, since becoming CEO, what do you think your biggest challenge has been?
Well, there's not a CEO in the world that's not going to say revenue is the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
but cash flow and making sure that we have good morale, that everybody, if you're building a growing business, you need to keep your people.
Right.
And trying to figure out ways to keep them, because, let's be honest, we're probably not the most competitive pay-wise. We're probably not the most competitive benefit-wise.
Okay.
So we want to build a team atmosphere where we want to bring people around that want to be with us and grow this with us and become something. And I get most of that from my Philly insurance background, because what people don't know is that company started, way back. And when I joined the company originally, there was probably about 65 employees. And Jim McGuire had a very entrepreneurial mindset, and I've adapted and adopted that mindset through a lot of the things that we do. So I'm most concerned as a CEO with obviously cash flow, but inside it's the morale and making sure that we can retain talent.
So getting good talent and then retaining good talent. So how do you go about doing that?
We play a game called The Great Game of Business.
Okay.
It's actually, I wish that I actually coined it, because he's the greatest entrepreneur of all time. But if you ever Google it, it's an open book management philosophy.
Okay.
And what we do is we empower all the employees to come up with their own metrics. And inside of those metrics, we play it as a game together. So we're now completely transparent. Everyone in our company sees the income statement, they see the cash flow statement, and they see everything regarding our company. And what we do is we play the income statement as a game. And we also play their side of the metrics. Now, part of winning the game is receiving compensation for what you do. So there are bonuses incentivized for the individual, as well as for the team, as well as in the overall for the corporate. So you're rooting, obviously the biggest bonus comes from the corporate making its
Goals, right.
And that means we want everybody to strive towards staying together as a team, and we hold each other accountable. If there's people doing things they shouldn't do, we have other people putting them in line, and maybe they're from marketing and they're talking to our solution architects, and they may not even know the first thing about the technical side, but when we're talking inside the meeting about things that are being built out, they get angry and want to, hey, we're trying to get this done, or otherwise we're not going to make our goals.
Right.
So,
that's very interesting.
So it's kind of exciting to play the game.
Yeah, you make it fun by making it a game, but it's also, you have specific goals, and they set them themselves, which I think is a very important concept. And then, the accountability and the transparency that you mentioned, I think are all very important.
Yes.
So what about, like, my husband's a manager, and I know that he's always searching for ways, in addition to kind of the compensation goals, employee recognition to kind of increase happiness and productivity. Sometimes little things really help. Like, I remember at one point a few years ago, he was doing this M&M challenge, where basically if people met certain goals, they got M&Ms at the end of the week. And you would think, nobody's going to feel like they have to work harder to get M&Ms, but they really did, because, it was more the recognition of being the person who, got the M&Ms every week. So I mean, do you guys have any, like, things that you do that are less compensation based that
So again, we do everything together as a team.
Okay.
We have specific events that are geared towards team meeting whatever it is.
Yeah.
So as an example, if we make the goal, any team goal 3 months in a row, we call that a turkey, and then we go bowling.
Oh, that's great.
So
okay.
everyone goes out and we bowl, and that's usually a little crazy, and we don't want any of those pictures on Facebook.
Right.
But,
what happens at bowling stays at bowling. Right?
and we do a March Madness tournament.
Okay.
So we do a lot of things that are team oriented towards trying to get everybody together as a team, so that this way, like, I've always been a firm believer. So a little bit of my personal background, I've been coaching football for probably 20 years of my life, still do it.
Okay.
And I'm a firm believer in you're only as good as the team.
Yeah.
So we don't single out per se. Not saying that that's a bad management technique, but we do a lot better when we work together as a team is kind of our philosophy.
So since you mentioned it, the football coaching, what age group do you coach?
Varsity for high school.
RC for high school,
Yeah.
okay. And you've been doing that for 20 years?
20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
great.
that's...
It's a good stress reliever.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's not only a good stress reliever, but it actually probably has helped you a lot with business as well, I would think.
It really has.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just the team mentality, I think, the lessons that you learn can translate. You know, that's a lot of the reason why people end up going into and staying in sports is kind of all those lessons that you learn that you can use, you know, in business or life.
Yeah, and there's and there's a sneaky little side part to it from the networking perspective that works out great too, which is oftentimes when you start getting in conversations with people at networking events, and then, you know, sports and especially football are the great icebreaker. You start having a conversation about whatever, and then you tell them that you're coaching football. They're dying to ask you a million questions. So it usually works out great for me having those conversations from a sales perspective or any sort of networking.
And it also makes you more memorable, right? So, I mean, I love what you're saying because it goes exactly to my own philosophy. I'm always trying to tell people that it's really not that important when you meet somebody at a networking event that they understand what your company does or what your services are. It's more about that first impression and leaving a good one, you know, and people being interested in the discussion. So, I mean, if they're into the sports or they're into the coaching and you have this great, you know, 10, 15-minute discussion, when you follow up with them, they're going to remember how good that discussion was. Right. They're going to remember what you talked about, right? And it's going to be a lot easier to build from there than, you know, talking to them and saying, remember me, you know, my company's 9 Dots and this is what we do. Oh, okay, you know. So I think, you know, it's all that personal stuff, I think, that really helps build the relationship. It does. It sounds like it's really working for you.
It is,
so,
it's working.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, you know, one of the things that I always like to ask, especially people in a high-up position like you as CEO, is what you have as far as habits and routines. Like, I'm very big on, I wouldn't say I'm the most organized person or the best time management, but I think we're always striving to improve those things. And I don't have staff, my business is all me, but I think, you know, some of the most successful people that I see have routines that they kind of stick to. Like maybe they get up in the morning and do things a specific way, or maybe have a specific time of day they shut down and have family time. You know, I'm just curious if there's anything like that in your own life.
That is such an interesting question, and I'm sure my wife is at home screaming at the TV and going, I'll list them all out for you, but that is absolutely who I am. So I wake up typically every morning roughly 5:30, and the first thing I do is go to the gym.
Right.
So I go to the gym, and the gym for me is the perfect opportunity for me to structure out my day. Mm-hmm. So whether I'm going for a run or just a regular workout, it's just me with the headphones, and it gives me a great opportunity to kind of clear my mind as to, I know what's on my calendar and I know the things that are going on, but there's all these other things that I want to make sure that I have straightened out before I'm ready to go. During the day, I use a program called Sticky Notes. Okay. And my life is, my entire desktop on my laptop is just covered with virtual sticky notes of things that I have to do. Okay. It gives me a tremendous sense of accomplishment to be able to line things off.
Right, crossing things off. Doesn't that make you feel great?
I have to make a list, and then I have to cross it off.
I'm a list person too, I understand.
And then I also have a personal philosophy on writing out a to-do list. I actually make a square instead of a number count on whatever my list might be. And inside that square, if it's halfway done, I color it halfway. So they're like personal goals towards time management of what it is that we're doing. Okay. And then, of course, if it's complete, you get to color it all the way in, and you feel real good about it.
I love it.
Yeah. Nighttime-wise, the shutdown usually occurs almost exactly at 10 o'clock.
Okay, that's pretty late. Yeah,
some pretty mindless, like Big Bang Theory television, or whatever that might be, and then it's like absolutely need to shut it down like right at 10. And again, I usually get a lot of pushback, like why do you have to go to bed exactly at 10 o'clock? Well,
you do every night 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, that way you can get up for the gym at 5:30. Right. I get it. Yeah, I'm sure it works really well for you.
It does. It works out great.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are all really good ideas. I think, the more, I think as business people or just as people in general, we tend to fight against routine, but the reality is that routine really helps with a lot of things in life and meeting goals and, getting the right amount of sleep and having better relationships and a lot of things that, in the long run can really help you.
Yeah, I'm actually angry when I have to get outside the routine.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's horrible to say that I'm like fit into that box, but I like it and I crave the routine.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, earlier you had mentioned, we talked about LinkedIn a little, and I know you said you work with some of the chambers, and you mentioned some meetup groups. Tell me about some networking besides the online that we talked about that has worked for you, and kind of who your target market is. Yeah.
Okay. So we've been getting more specific. So first couple of years, we didn't exactly know.
Okay.
So we did a lot of broad, generalized stuff, which absolutely I think for certain people is great.
Yeah.
So network after work. I don't know how familiar you are with that.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
So we've done a lot of going to that. Now at this point, we still do network after work, but my marketing team goes to network after work.
Okay.
Like, I no longer go to those because I'm not going to meet with someone at those events. But to that earlier, maybe that first question about card exchange. Listen, it's great to pick up other cards, find out what other people are doing.
Sure.
So we still see some value in going to the network after work stuff. Where we've expanded is more industry specific stuff. So we do a lot of work with a good friend of mine. His name is Michael Bertoni. He started a company, a social networking, Philly Tech.
Okay.
And from Philly Tech, there is techmeetups.com. And we started doing those because it's more like us. But because we sell in niche specific industries, such as legal and architects and engineers and insurance, we want to try and find more events that are geared towards that will have insurance specific people there or lawyers
Right.
who would want to use our products. So we do a lot of, now we've expanded our networking to, we're really looking for the types of like lunch and learns or the network, like if someone's hosting an event up in New York City or somewhere like that, we'll go to those events and participate in those areas because we know then we're going to have very specific industry conversations, hopefully with decision makers, but definitely with people that we can get our messaging across and be able to expand further.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And also, when you talk about kind of the more general networking events, like let's say, for example, if you had lawyers as a goal, you might be a room of 100 people and you're going to seek out maybe the 2 lawyers that might be there, or maybe you don't even get to meet the lawyers that were in the room. But if you go to an industry-specific event, that's the benefit. You know everybody in the room is in the industry that you're looking to connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem is there's not that many of them, and when they're typically, we're a little small for hosting it ourselves right now. We've done that a couple of times, and it's gotten good response. But when they're hosted by big companies like say PwC or E&Y, they're not eager for companies like us to come in. They're hosting it for their own reason. They want to actually attract them all there and sell them almost the same exact thing that we're trying to sell. So
that's
it's we get a little blocked out, but
yeah,
we're still pushing through and getting into that stuff.
I mean, it sounds like in a very short time you've really turned the company around from something that's they were ready to basically close to something that's very profitable. So.
Yes.
So that's amazing.
Yeah,
you should feel really good about that.
I feel good. We got a long way to go.
Yeah.
All right. So any of my guys that are actually watching, we're not close yet.
Right.
But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, for anybody that's ever thinking about doing it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if you think that it's all just fun and everyone says how great you are, you get to wear the CEO title. It is. And by the way, I don't even make nearly the kind of money that I used to make when I worked at Philly Insurance. But it's hard work.
It is hard work.
It's real hard work, and the best part about it is it feels great when all of us succeed.
Yeah.
We need titles because it's the way people want to speak to us. But we check egos and titles at the door. The only one allowed to have an ego is me. Everybody else is forced into doing. Let's just make sure that we want to do this thing as a team, and let's celebrate our successes when we win as a team, and let's make sure that we're paying attention to our failures because that's how we grow. It's fine to fail. It's been 5 years, I've made 1 million mistakes and probably have made 5 on this interview. So,
You've been doing great on the interview, but I'm with you because I've definitely learned the most from my failures. And it's hard, to go through that, but you do learn from it, and you don't make them again,
right?
Right?
That's exactly right.
So now, what about for this year? Do you guys have goals that you would like to reach this year? Any new products or services that are launching that you'd like to tell us about? Or
so given the fact that we have a tremendous amount of insurance experience, we're not as deep as we want to be in the insurance industry. So that is definitely a big goal for us for this year.
Okay.
We want to penetrate the insurance market more. We did right at the end of the year get a brand new client in insurance, so that we're using that to springboard us. From the networking perspective, we're going to get some case studies and some testimonials, and hopefully be able to springboard off of this company and use them to get us further and deeper into the insurance side. So that's a big goal for us in 2016. Mm-hmm. And another big goal for us in 2016, which might shock you, is we need a better local presence.
Okay.
We're an actually fairly large national presence. We're everywhere. We're in Vancouver, Canada, but we only have, I guess, at this point, about a half dozen clients in the tri-state area.
Okay.
So we are definitely looking to expand the local presence.
Right.
We've been here, the company's been operating, and we've got some big clients. We've got some landmark clients that come from the Philadelphia area. But for whatever reason, we don't penetrate the market enough here in Philly and the surrounding area. So we're really pushing hard. Those are probably our two biggest goals in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to you, one of the things that came to my mind, and maybe you guys are already doing this, is, a lot of businesses, I feel like, gain more of a local presence by getting involved in community endeavors, whether that's local nonprofits or events. Do you guys currently do anything like that? Or?
We do,
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that, because that's one of the big pushes we don't do enough community stuff. Like, even being in Conshohocken, we're just not participating in enough of those events. It's a sore spot for me. We definitely we do some contribution, individual type contribution. We sent a nursing student over to Africa. We've done a lot of cancer stuff. We've participated in the WMMR Camp Out for Hunger. We send some people to Global Football, is a event where you take some kids from the U.S. and you bring them overseas and you teach them how to play football overseas. So dovetails nicely into what I like to do.
Exactly.
And, it gets kids that have probably never even been on an airplane in their life over into Italy and Spain and other areas. So we're definitely doing some broad-based stuff, but we're not doing enough local community service, and we know it.
Right. And I think it's great that you recognize it, and now it's one of your goals for 2016.
It is.
So definitely, I'm sure you'll do some more things this year that'll be wonderful.
Yes.
So, we're nearing the end, so I want to make sure people know how to reach you guys. If you want to maybe tell our viewers, where to find you on social media, where your office is, anything else that you might want to add.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
We're in Conshohocken. And we're in the technical area over there in the Spring Mill Corporate Center. And you can reach us by looking on the website at www.ixdots.com. It's a great opportunity for you to look at us. If you wanted to understand our name, the 9 Dots name comes from a metaphor, which means to think outside of the box. So we'd love for you to join us and have an opportunity to look at our outside of the box mentality, our services, and the way we do things.
Great. So last question, not business related.
Okay.
What's a personal goal that you have for this year? Something on your bucket list or something you want to accomplish?
All right. So I don't want to get too personal, but I'm eating cottage cheese for the first time in my life because I need to get some weight off.
Okay.
So I'm working hard towards getting in better shape. Although I work out all the time, I can't seem to get my weight to where I want it to be. So personal goal for me is
be healthier.
Yeah, get healthier.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for watching.